Good morning, Lynn.
Well, good morning, Deb. How are you today?
I am excited for another trip down the rabbit hole with you. We call this section of my channel Common Core Diva Deep Dives for a reason. So before we get started real quick, everybody, if you're tuning in, I do have a playlist of all of Lynn's deep dives. I encourage you strongly to go through them at your own pace, but with a strong beverage perhaps, but you're going to want to watch these. And today is like the others really informative. So please like, share, and subscribe. But we're going to get started today talking about, Lynn, what are we talking about?
We are talking about government enforced free school meals.
Now, Lynn,
Yes.
I bet people in the audience are going to say, wait a minute, government enforced free?
Mhm.
This is a bad thing? Government
Oh,
enforced
yes.
free. So
Yeah.
explain. I mean, obviously, I think it's a bad thing because there's nothing free. There's no such thing as a
Well,
free
well,
lunch.
well,
But
that would be the first point.
yes.
Absolutely. That usually should go without saying anymore. But for the sake of argument, your tax dollars, whether you have said, yes, I want to support other people who need free meals to get them, the government has come in and has decided that, oh, yes, whether your income level throws you into the category of free meals or not, we're going to enroll you anyway. And I just wanted to say thank you to the moms or parents out there who alerted you to this particular problem
Yep.
because, it was one of those things. You scratch the surface, and lo and behold, you see, wait, there's a whole lot more that no one's talking about. And so that's what we are going to do today.
Right. And the scary thing to me after this mom sent me the information was realizing that she's of course one of tens of thousands just in her
Right.
own state, but if not more. But then you have the fact that this is possible at all. In other words, that the government can just mass enroll you in an entitlement that is paid for by other people and you cannot opt out. And that
Exactly.
most people will not question it. Most people will look at it as a windfall, like free food. Yay!
Well, let's also stop and think about it. If you look at the food, the actual food that's being offered, it is not tailored to if you have food allergies or food sensitivities or anything like that. It is all based on the government prescribed my plate, which, if you look, was the pyramid redone where it was grain heavy and protein light. And if you look at some of the diets of some people, grains are what do them in. Proteins, maybe not so much, or, vice versa. I mean, we have so many different dietary needs, but we have them for a reason. And to across the board just ignore those and say, here's your food, this is what you will eat because it is free, totally disregards your individuality, but breeds collectivism.
Of course. And, to your point about the food pyramid, the more we learn about nutrition, something ironically a lot of doctors know nothing about,
Right.
the more we realize, as you said, the grains that we eat in the United States are almost all modified to remove the protein and fiber and bran so they will last longer on the shelf or in the warehouse.
Right.
It's not nefarious to like make you sick, although it does, but it just provides very little nutritional value. They're heavy on seed oils, which we now know are endocrine disruptors. We know that. So if you wonder why are so many kids like not sure of their sex and not sure what their attractions are and stuff, if your endocrine system isn't working properly, that means your hormones are not working properly. We have higher rates of diabetes and obesity, which also are endocrine disorders. So, they're basically putting a diet in place at the youngest age that we already know. We have the scientific research to show is actually not an optimal diet. They just haven't changed the pyramid.
Well, exactly. But think about it. Your government has a prescribed outcome, Deb. We've done this on several shows.
Yeah.
And if they can manage what you eat, manage your time, they keep you weak and dependent. And if you're weak and dependent, are you going to be as strong and free thinking as you need to be. Absolutely not. But let's get into the headlines. This is
Sure.
out
Let
of
me.
Union County, North Carolina. And if folks don't know where that is, it is kind of east and southish of Charlotte, which is a UN sustainable hub.
So am I going
It's
first to the students at 17 schools?
yes,
Dr. I
yes.
got you.
This
All right,
is
here it is. Mhm.
here's the headline. And Deb, if you want to read that for folks.
Okay, students at 17 schools are eligible to receive free meals. Union County Public Schools is making a change to the school nutrition services program for the 2023-2024 school year. As part of the National School Breakfast and Lunch Program, 17 schools will participate in the community eligibility provision. What does this mean for you and your children? Beginning this fall, all children enrolled at the schools listed below are all children are eligible to receive a healthy breakfast and lunch at school at no charge directly through your taxes. No further action is required at this time. You can't opt out. Your children will be able to participate in these meal programs without having to pay a fee or submit a meal application. We have all your data already. Continue.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. Now, where
That's
this
the
ties
subtext they're not saying. I have
right,
to add that.
exactly. But where this ties into the My Plate is through the Department of Agriculture, and that national free breakfast and lunch is tied to the Richard B. Russell National School Lunch Program. And oh, Deb, in the 118th Congress, I just found this yesterday,
Right.
is federal bill, House of Representatives 3331, and Senate bill, because we can't be bicameral and bipartisan without it, Senate Bill 754. You
Oh
ready
my
for the
God. Do you
title?
want to see? Do you want to show the other Union County thing?
Sure, there you
So
go. There it
this
is.
is, that says fill out your diet order form. So apparently they will let you fill out your little diet form and they will do that. But
Well,
if
I would not want to see
if
what their
you have
idea.
spent 5 minutes, not even 5 seconds in a
Right,
school cafeteria, you will know that no matter what you fill out, no matter what you say about your particular child, the likelihood in that assembly line lynch process where they're like, hurry up and eat, let's go, that your child is going to get the proper plate delivered to them and then actually eat it is slim to none. So there's,
right,
and then
right.
the next thing I think you were talking about was this.
Yes, the My Plate. And that's where it ties into the Department of Agriculture. Now, here's
Here it
why it's so
is,
important to
Department of
know that the
Agriculture.
118th federal level Congress has two bills, one from the House, one from the Senate, that will attach to this My Plate. And it's called the Improving Mental Health and Wellness in Schools Act. It will use the Richard B. Russell Schools Lunch Act for the agenda, which we are talking about today, which is the government decides what you eat, who eats, and it's all across the board. And here's the thing, it puts it at the direction of the federal government under the guise of local control, which is what we're
Unbelievable.
seeing in Union County, and not just Union County, not just one county in North Carolina. Every stupid county in North Carolina has this, as well as several states across the nation.
And I'm sure that they're not going to make sure that they're giant big ag cronies that have, like worked with them in the dark rooms of like how they're going to control meat supply, vegetable supply, all the things. I'm sure they're not slanting things towards those producers and owners at all. No, of
Oh,
course not.
please. If you look at the Department of Agriculture, it is a partner of the United Nations for the Sustainable Development Goals, which rope in food, education, and everything else. So let's move on. The
Lovely.
website, yes, the website where you can find where the Department of Agriculture shares the Health and Human Services. There are your 2025 dietary guidelines. Now, this is an advisory committee, Deb, that is supposed to guide your school district in what they eat. But let's think about this. In the federal government land that we have, advisory is equal to a mandate. And this one would be a funded mandate, meaning We've gotten your tax dollar. We're going to have Johnny and Susie in these schools, these 17 schools, for example, and regardless of their income level, we've got them in this free food meal plan.
I would like to, if I may, I would like to
Sure.
read just a quote from Tom Vilsack, our USDA secretary.
Mm-hmm.
We are fortunate to have a committee of nutrition experts who will provide science-driven recommendations. You mean science-driven, like what the CDC gave us? Right. Okay. With health equity in mind.
Oh, there's that word, equity.
I am confident this committee will provide our departments with evidence-based recommendations that help all Americans achieve better nutrition and health to be our little serfs who don't question our policies. So there's so much captured language in there between evidence-based and science-driven and experts. And it's very important for people to understand that they can't effectively, even if they give you breakfast and lunch in the school, they cannot, from Washington, make everybody equally healthy without doing what? What's easier to do? Make everybody equally unhealthy. I cannot possibly control what you eat on the weekends, what you eat at night, what kind of snacks you're having, how much soda you drink, how much you exercise, how much you sleep, all the things. So even if I give you this food twice a day, the most I can do is lower everybody to the same kind of low level. Mow the grass.
Absolutely.
That's all they can do.
Absolutely. And I wanted to also point out that the General Assembly here in North Carolina, and I urge you, if you're in any of the other states that we will list in just a minute, look in your General Assembly, your state level Congress, because what they're doing in DC has trickled down. And this is House Bill 30205-NHA 134. This is from the 2023 session, and it is called the North Carolina School Meals for All Act. Your Representative Von Hafen is the chief sponsor, and this is a bill to be entitled An Act to Provide Breakfast and Lunch, Deb, in the public schools of North Carolina at no cost to the student. And it goes on to tell you that as part of the function of the public school system, the school units, as well as, school system, as well as the public school units, because after all, COVID forced many entities to become recognized public school units to receive government money, shall have a school food authority. And this functions under the federal guidelines established by the Food and Nutrition Service of the United States Department of Agriculture. Now, tied into that will be your EBT, your SNAP, Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, that is run at a federal level and trickles down to your state. These children in these 17 schools, without any say so from mom and dad, got these types of cards in the mail.
Well, the other thing is they're being
ahead.
taught explicitly in their classrooms because of the SDG goals. They have produced lesson plans delivered to teachers that parents know nothing about typically, unless you follow the social media of your teacher. And even then you might not know. And they're teaching children that bringing a sack lunch from home is a privilege. They are teaching them to basically feel sort of guilty about it, and that they need to, they're teaching them essentially that if you send them with food, so if you decide to override this and I'm not going to use this, I'm sending my kid with her own lunch, your kid is already being primed to throw it in the trash just to save face, of I'm not a privileged oppressor. And I don't have something over, I want to participate in food equity. So in a twisted sense of logic, they are going to get rid of it so that they don't lose social credit points and with their classmates and their teacher. It is considered kind of a taboo thing to bring a lunch from home.
Right. Well, how this attaches to the data trail is through a student family data system that Union County employs, as well as a lot of counties across North Carolina. And it's called Peach Jar. And it is a data harvesting website that will track info on the student by default, the family. And that's how the school said, oh, well, mom and dad, you don't need to sign up. We'll take care of everything. This means that a school administrator had to okay that data being shared with the federal Department of Agriculture as well as the federal Department of Education. I would be looking into that. Now, according to the Union County Public School budget, the capital overlay, which does include school nutrition, almost $21 million. Now, they go on to tell you in this particular budget, Deb, that no local tax money supports the school meals. It's either through a student family payment or a small federal government amount. So I just listed off the capital investments, which come from the county, almost $21 million. The budget resolution for school nutrition, for the federal funding, for just Union County, $29,937, which is a whole lot less than 21 million. I'll give you that. However, state funding comes in with almost 63,000. So your state, your county is bearing the brunt of this, but they're not actually telling you where in the county this money's coming from, other than it's in capital improvements. Well, capital improvements, if you know anything about accounting, usually has to do with infrastructure and
I was going to say.
buildings. It has to do with infrastructure and buildings. So someone needs to be looking into, okay, where else is this coming in? Because someone's robbing Peter to pay Paul.
There's so much book cooking and crazy accounting going on in the education industrial complex. You could spend like years trying to unravel it, but it runs such amok. And at this point, they are attaching anything and everything to education,
right?
Because it is a rare politician and it's a rare voter who will vote against it.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've seen this in North Carolina. Has a bond measure ever failed in North Carolina in relation to education? The answer is no.
And those are deferred taxes. You're not going to pay them, but your children and your grandchildren will, or some other poor smo who moves into the state. But not to pick on North Carolina.
Let's leave all the New York refugees to pay it. We'll all leave. I'm just kidding.
Let's not just pick on North Carolina. The next link that we have is a website that you can use because your states use it. This is where any state can go to find out what their federal benefits are when it comes to free school food. This is huge.
Something that is huge. And I don't mean to distract from your larger point, which is very, very important. But did you see this? New to Hawaii benefit programs. Register and verify your identity digitally via login.gov or in person at your local post office. Yeah. Please check into our national database of humans voluntarily. Hey, guess what? You can verify your identity, this way.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't make it hard for us. We don't want to go run our little algorithm and gather your data or buy it from anyone. Can you just please give it to us? Thank you.
One of the things that you will find out by digging into this particular website is that Medicaid funding attaches to not only every state for this, but this House Bill 844 from the state of North Carolina. They're using Medicaid money. That
might be.
Yes, for food, because it goes into health and wellness. It goes into health and wellness.
So
and
not only are the schools going to direct bill for all that counseling, they're giving your child when they're, a little too uppity and have their own opinions too much. Yeah. So the Medicaid's going to bill directly for that from the school, but now they're paying for your kids' food too.
Yeah.
What's next?
And this federal level Improving Mental Health and Wellness in Schools Act will attach to Medicaid as well. Now, the reason why we wanted to go here, Deb, was because these states who already are doing what North Carolina is trotting out and Union County has fully embraced. California, no surprise there. Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, MI, that's Mississippi.
Michigan.
Michigan. You're
Yeah.
right, Michigan. Sorry, I get my
Yeah.
M's mixed up
That's
sometimes.
okay.
Okay, so we have California, Colorado, Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, Maine, Massachusetts, New Mexico, Vermont. Discussing adding this are Arizona, Connecticut, Hawaii, Iowa, Louisiana, Maryland, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, North Carolina, North Dakota, Ohio, Oklahoma, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, Washington, Wisconsin, and the District of Columbia. That's about half the nation, my dear.
All right. So y'all listening? Y'all hear this? What we're telling you? Okay, please share this with other people, especially people who are not in your state, so everybody can be notified. All right, let's continue.
Okay, now where I found that particular information, I believe will be in the archives as well, but that was from a New York City food policy organization, and
The
it
one we
listed.
just looked at?
Yep,
This?
I think so. That was back in August of 23 when they released that. Okay, now
we just with all this stuff, y'all, stuff gets slipped in that you don't really see because are you paying attention to these websites? I would bet you 99% of parents do not go to these websites. The only reason they have these websites and they tell us everything is they're legally bound to tell us everything. And they, believe it or not, still obey that law. They tell us everything. They're not hiding this. So many people say to me, "Oh, you're such a conspiracy theorist." I'm like, it's not hidden. I just can read. Lynne can read. Like, we just go to the places where they're already telling us what they're doing. Like, yeah, but you're reading into it. I'm like, okay, I'll wait. Explain to me why it's a good thing that the federal government is going to feed every child in America for quote unquote free using Medicaid money. I'll wait. Please explain.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what we're looking at now, this is the North Carolina school lunch website. You'll also need to look into this because it gives you the school food data tracking system. I kid you not. And that link is in there for you as well because this is part of the school district website. So there it is.
That's this one.
That's that one right there. That you definitely want that because all those parents are asking, how did the school get my data without me supplying it? This is how. This is where that school administrator needs to be held accountable. You gave information that I did not okay. Or did you? In some of those documents, did you opt in or did you opt out? They're
you
getting
can't
very
just take that
tricky.
stack of stuff that comes home with your kid or that's sent to you and said, fill out or your child can't start school.
Exactly. You have to read.
You know what would be a really good thing for a nonprofit to do is get a lawyer to read through their district's documents each and every year or every set of documents that is being put out to parents and then put out an explainer saying, sign this, don't sign this, check this box, don't check this box. This is what you're doing. Like put out a little cheat sheet that says legally, this is what you're obligated to do. This is what you're not obligated to do. Now, you decide, but Lynne and I can't keep up with it. We're coming to you like every month, it seems, and we're telling you stuff way after the fact of this stuff happening. But how many of you in North Carolina alone have seen this page? Those of you not in North Carolina, do you know whether this type of thing exists in your state? I'm going to go with no. You probably don't.
But now you do. And
Please go look.
Yeah, go look.
Please go look. If you are considering sending your child to a public school, if your child is already in a government school and you do not spend time on their websites every month. So people tell me, it's so much work to homeschool. I can't possibly do it. And I'm like,
I did it 23 years. It is work, but it's not work. And it's an investment in your children. It absolutely is. I could not.
This is work, Lynne. I don't want to be doing this. I'd rather be doing like anything else. I'd rather be cleaning my lint out of my dryer. That, no offense, love you dearly, but
Honey, I'm right there with you. I absolutely am. Let's move on though, because this one is key as well. This is a dated announcement
Okay.
from our former state superintendent, Mark Johnson. This was the eligibility requirements that were being set out by the state of North Carolina for the school lunch program. And why this is key is because at the federal level, not even 2 months ago, we got new Medicaid federal poverty levels that are released. I have those for you as well. Those will be an attachment. Those show you the current income guidelines that are used not only by North Carolina, but by every state. And the reason why you want that is because this ties to the haves and the have nots, or what some states call opportunity zones. North Carolina happens to call ours prosperity zones. And if you look at the map of North Carolina through the counties, I believe I have that for you in the attachments, Deb. They're color.
Okay.
I think I do. They're color coded. Let's see
Uh,
here. Let's see. Income eligibility. Okay, if I don't, that's fine.
yeah, I
Okay,
just
but
the
I
next
want
one
you.
is House bill would make lunches free.
Yeah,
So
that's fine. Okay, so I want you to imagine you have a state of you have the map of your state, all your counties. You want to choose two colors, one for urban areas, one for rural. All right. In North Carolina, we have 30 urban counties. So let's call those the purple counties. Okay.
right.
And we have 70 rural counties. So those are our yellow counties.
Okay.
Okay, so we see we have a plethora of yellow and a little bit of purple. But here's the problem. If you look at where those urban counties are, every one of them is a recognized hub city for the Sustainable Development Goals, or on the UN Council of Mayors, or tied into the prosperity zones that North Carolina has claimed that they have nothing to do with these Sustainable Development
Well,
Goals.
and this is, I'm going to interrupt you real quick because
Sure.
this is so important. What you just said is that they've identified these spaces, these prosperity zones, whatever. And you might think, well, that's good because they're, they're rural or they're poor or they have less of all the things. But understand that the current dominant culture in America, and I covered this in my show yesterday with the Collins couple, is the urban monoculture. You know, that one where
Mhm.
everyone seems to agree no matter what color hair they have, but they all agree on all the issues and they all think this is great. And then there you are in a county like Lynne is mentioning, and you're like, I don't agree with those ideas. And I have a wide, and even your next door neighbor and you don't agree on everything. Okay. But in the urban center, I grew up in New York City. Everybody agrees except for like a tiny handful of people. So in order to make sure that everybody's on board, they have to target the places that are maintaining their old culture. They're maintaining their old religion. They're maintaining their old way of eating. They're maintaining their old religions. They're maintaining all the things. So this is literally a way of institutionalizing that kind of Maoism, that neo-Maoism, to go out there through your food, through your diet, through your school, through all your health care, the kind of vaccines you put in your body, everything. This is parasitism and colonization. That is what they're doing. And I want to reframe it that way, Lynne, because
Sure.
I don't want people to think of it, isn't this good? And they don't have as many jobs and they don't have this and they don't have that. It's like, but what they have that they want to keep is what's being taken. They're not asking for this food. They're not asking for this health care. Nobody's saying, please, please give it to us. It is being decided
Right.
across the ocean by people who aren't even American that they need it. And if you think they're deciding it out of the goodness of their little hearts, you're dreaming. They genuinely believe that the whole world should have the same ideas and be of the same culture, that is
Eat
a
the
better
same thing.
culture run by the very smart people. And this is how they're going to get to us, through our bellies and through our children, through our children's bellies and bodies. That's how they're going to separate us from our kids. It's not just they're going to come along and take them. They're going to feed them. They're going to educate them. They're going to get them good and dependent on the very smart people to formulate their views. And pretty soon, the rest of us are going to be, we're going to be dead, and we'll be out of commission as far as what we wanted to press on to our children. Independence. No, you can't have that. Sorry. So that's what they're spreading. They can't get us to move to the city. They can't create their 15-minute cities voluntarily. They're going to go outward.
Absolutely. And the map that you're looking for, Deb, is that very first attachment. It's going to say rural urban on it.
On this document?
No. In your email, it's the very first attachment. It says rural urban 2019. It was a PDF.
Oh, wait. Okay. So I've got to go find the PDFs.
Yeah, it's it's in the email. It's the very first attachment.
Okay.
It'll say rural urban. And the reason why I wanted
weird. Why am I not seeing a PDF?
Okay, it's down at the bottom. Because that's where all the
I got you. Okay.
There they are. Okay.
Hold on. Let me get this tab shared up. All right.
Okay.
And I got to make it bigger so people can see it.
There you go. Okay. So there we are. We're color coded. Okay. So it's green and white. Now, all the green areas are the rural areas, 70 counties. The white is the urban. But here is the hub aspect of it. Okay. For those who don't know North Carolina, Haywood, Buncombe, and Henderson, that's near Asheville. So, Deb, you know where Asheville is. So that's over there.
Rural mountainous counties.
Yep. Okay. Then we have Burke, Caldwell, Catawba, Iredell, Mecklenburg, and Union, which make up the Charlotte hub.
Right. Stokes. And I live, just, in case anyone's wondering, see the little where Cabarrus is and Mecklenburg. Right. And I live like where Cabarrus and Mecklenburg and Iredell like kind of meet that little corner there. Okay. And they are going hard after Cabarrus County. Cabarrus County is going to be Mecklenburg County.
Well, now remember, your whistleblower came from Union County, so this is part of the Charlotte hub. I'm in southern Iredell, so we're seeing it rack and stack and all kinds of stuff. Okay, let's move on. Stokes, Forsyth, Davidson, Davie, and Guilford make up the Winston-Salem hub. That's also, let's see, then Alamance, Chatham, and Greensboro, Alamance and Chatham make up the Greensboro hub. And if you know anything about North Carolina, that's where a lot of our petroleum is stored. Okay, Orange, Durham, Wake, Johnston, and Wayne counties make up the Raleigh-Durham hub. Cumberland and Hope County, Fayetteville, where we also have a military base. Brunswick, New Hanover, and Onslow, Wilmington hub. Nash, Edgecombe, Pitt, and Craven counties, New Bern hub. So there you go. There are all our counties in a nice, neat little hub system. And your state, if you don't live in North Carolina, your state will be exactly the same. And where did I find that? That is based off the Office of Federal Budget and Management. They have all the data.
Look, North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, Office of Rural Health. I guarantee you have this in your state. It's just called something different.
It is. It absolutely is.
Okay. I feel kind of sick. This always makes me so frustrated.
I'm sorry, my dear. I'm so sorry.
Am I going to another PDF? Am I going to
Not right now. Not right now. Okay. So we've gone over the article that shows you where the states need to be. Of course, we just showed you your Department of what was it?
The technology we went through. Then we went through the eligibility requirement.
Okay. And if you're not sure about the prosperity zones, I detailed those for you guys in several articles. The best one I did was back in 2018 because it showed the pipeline system for education, Deb, that had been set up for the students at the behest of not only the Department of Education, but the Department of Commerce, Labor, Health and Human Services, and all that. So that is in there as well.
We did a show. This one, the When Agenda Meets Dirt, the 2019?
I believe so. Yeah, okay. I believe so. Then we did a show.
Yes, we did.
In 2023 on food control. And we talked about a lot of what we're talking about today. We're just extending that conversation. So the deeper dive where you're going to find education that meets the Sustainable Development Goals, that is the one you just showed. The agenda means dirt. Yeah. Then I just did an article in late 2023 about how our USDA planting zones got an update so that, because of climate change, Deb, it's changing what I can plant in my yard and what I can feed my family. So that'll be in there for you as well, because that is going to control your food as well. And then there's the nanny state, the video may not be available, but the links that you will need will be available on that. So that is everything in a nutshell, my dear.
And then, of course, don't forget this one.
Oh, yes.
And I know, guys, there's probably people watching this going, "Are you serious? They want to use food
Yes,
to make it look." Well, what do you
absolutely.
call it when you take children at their youngest age and you get them real used to entitlement that your government school feeds you? You don't like, remember when COVID shut everything down? We're like, how are the children going to eat? And like, do they not have
Yep.
parents? At this point, parents, it seems like the government sees your only role is to breed and then to house. And
Yep.
even that, if you don't have a home, they'll figure that out too. So
Right.
they and they'll be happy to take your children and put them in foster care if they don't like how you're doing all these things. So it is just dressed up in nicer sounding words, and they haven't yet gone to this, kind of creepy uniform artwork to depict it. Although I think a lot of the visuals they use are sort of creepy.
Right. Now, one of the articles that prompted this particular interview is also linked. It's called "Using Food for Educatic Alignment." And one of the things that I wanted to point out to folks was, if you listened earlier, I said this will connect to the SNAP benefits, the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. This particular article about educatic alignment goes very deeply into how SNAP attaches to education, because it
Right.
is used in the formulation for every school district across the nation, not just one county in North Carolina, not just the state of North Carolina, but the entire nation. But I featured a
Oh, I
quote
think it
by,
was here. I think it's here. Actually,
I,
I
it's
apologize.
no, it's okay. I featured a quote from Bernard Shaw, and listen to this.
Okay.
Under socialism, you would not be allowed to be poor. You would be forcibly fed, clothed, lodged, taught, and employed, whether you liked it or not. If it were discovered that you had not character and industry enough to be worth all this trouble, you might possibly be executed in a kindly manner, but whilst you were permitted to live, you would have to live well. Bernard Shaw.
Well, we already know they're pursuing a fixed lifespan and they're going to decide what quality of life is. That came in. Obamacare made that obvious.
Right.
When people talked about those medical review boards, or those boards that they were calling them, death panels or whatever. And
Right.
people said, that's crazy. That's crazy. They've done it in Canada forever. And now we
Oh,
talked
yeah.
last time about MAID for kids, for mental illness.
Right.
When they say wellness, they mean by their
It's
definition. They
right.
don't mean by your
Exactly.
definition of wellness.
Well, that's what's so dangerous about outcomes. Student outcomes, that is a prescribed formula the government has cooked up for where your child needs to fit, not honoring their God-given or whatever you believe created them, given talents, abilities, likes, dislikes. It's disregarding all that. It's trying to force a round peg in a square hole, basically.
Right. And unless anyone think that we are sitting here telling you that there is a set group of people sitting in a dark room, going, "Mwahaha." It's not that. Understand that this is a culture and philosophy clash. And that the people at this point who make it into government positions or bureaucracies from both parties, this is a nonpartisan thing.
Oh yeah.
The
This
people
is
who make it that high, the people who have the networks and the connections and all the things to get there, are genuinely of the view that if you interview them, they would tell you, Republican or Democrat or whatever, that they absolutely believe this, that there is a right way to do all the things. And there is an outcome that is optimal, and that a well-oiled functioning society works a certain way. And, it seeps out every so often. You can hear it. There was a video going around, Lynn, about of the guy in South Carolina, the representative, who had a little head off with another representative from South Carolina talking about how to spend constituent money. And the gentleman that I would support was arguing that, no, I'm sent here by my constituents to represent their interests in Greenville and whatever other county that had,
right.
and to spend it on things that they think, roads and school, whatever, which I might disagree with, but okay. The other guy said, But how many people back in your district have ever done a deal? How many people understand about economic incentives? How many of them understand putting together a big project to bring jobs to South Carolina? And don't you think you should listen to commerce? And don't you think you should listen to this department and that department? And the guy said, no, I'm not listening to unelected bureaucrats and lobbyists. I'm listening to the people, the good people of my district. And the guy was like mocking this other elected representative who represents 40,000 people in his district, was like mocking this guy, like, oh yeah, you're listening to your people, you're not listening to the commerce department and this department. And the guy, the one that I support said, you know, I think you really believe this. And that's where it seeps out, is listen to them speak,
Right.
read what they write. They're telling you on an individual basis. It's not some secret cabal. These are people who've already been educated by government, maybe universities, professors who agree with this mindset that human beings are little chess pieces, interchangeable chess pieces to be moved around on a board for optimal results that can be managed from the top. They believe in the perfecting of the human race by management, human resource management. They see us as cogs in a machine, not as unique individuals, well and fearfully made and all these things. And so that's what I think you and I are trying to get across to people is, it doesn't need to be some like deep, dark conspiracy. All you need is a large number of people whose philosophy is anti-individual, pro-collective, pro-government, pro-group think. And this happens. So if you're looking for the silver bullet or the one evil person to get rid of, or conversely, if you think one person's going to save you, that your Messiah is going to come and you're going to elect him and he's going to wipe all this out, we're here to tell you, no, the only person who can save you and your children is you.
Absolutely.
In your own home. You can't escape this. That's what we're trying to show you. We're not telling you this. You can call your senator. We're not telling you this to call your legislator. It's done. We're telling you this so that you can stand up one day and say, I'm the mom or I'm the dad. I'm the family, and I'm going to do what parents do. And I'm going to disengage from this system to the degree that I'm allowed, and maybe a little more, wink, wink. And I'm going to live life, and I'm going to raise my children to live life. And we are just going to live life, and we're not going to comply with this. That's how you have to do it. You can't, there is no magic pill. I'm sorry. You're not going to elect your way out of this.
No, you really won't, because this is a bipartisan issue. It has been this way for decades. If you go back and you look at some of the laws that have been put into place under Democrats or under Republicans, it's the same agenda, because they are myopic in the vision that we are being rebranded as human capital. And
That's
when you have governments, plural, that deem you rather a human being and turn you into a human capital, you are a commodity to be trained, groomed, bought, and sold.
You're a
That
human
is
doing.
that is not why we were created. We were created because we have a purpose. We have abilities that would help this world be a better place. And you know what? If we were allowed to have those come to fruition, we could make the world a better place. But when it's constantly run through a government funneled distortion, we cannot come to full fruition of anything other than complete and utter dependence and compliance.
Every day, Lynne, brings a new reason to read This Perfect Day. If you have not read Ira Levin's This Perfect Day, you must read this book. Jake Kleisik is the one who recommended it to me. And I understand why. This book explains it all and was written in the 60s as a dystopian novel. But when you read it about people where, you know, the whole society is controlled by a one giant computer, which, by the way, isn't even doing it. It's the little group of human beings behind the computer, but there's a computer and it decides not just who will reproduce and who won't, and what your lifespan is, but the particular cocktail of meds that you need to be administered every couple of weeks or on a certain schedule to make sure you don't get sick. And sickness is defined as having your own thoughts, your own individual creativity, your own wants, your own needs. If that you start expressing that in any way, you draw a picture that differs from the picture that they want you to draw. Oh, you need to go for treatment. Your neighbor, your friend, your whoever you've been assigned to reproduce with has told us that you are feeling a little poorly. And so we've sent you for an enhanced treatment this time around that will just, restore you to your position and whatever, mind fog, brain fog. And and then here it is in black and white. Okay. If the COVID-19 pandemic has taught us anything, now, what do you think is going to follow after that? That we shouldn't let government decide health policy, that we shouldn't trust a giant pharmaceutical company to have tested something appropriately, that we shouldn't trust anybody who has no liability if they're wrong. No, it is that school children should never go hungry. As parents of children enrolled in New York City public schools know, breakfast and lunch are offered free of charge to all students, no matter their family's financial circumstances. However, the majority of municipalities in the United States have no such policies. Shame on them. They're deemed different from New York. Remember I said urban monoculture? Most American school children that we don't yet control do not learn in a school district that offers universal school lunches, universal basic income for food, universal basic income for this, Guys, they're starting with the food, but the universal basic income is the goal. What do you think school vouchers and ESAs are? UBI for education that they will then control, just like the food.
Don't you remember we trotted out the Flint, Michigan?
Yes.
Sign every pregnant woman up for free stuff.
Yep. Yeah. This is how, and see the image. Aren't they cute? And isn't it a perfect little slice of, of diversity? We have the Asian child, the black child, the white little blonde child, because of course all white children are blonde and blue-eyed. Did you not know? But this is what they're doing, is they are getting you in here bit by bit by bit. Many municipalities in the United States that are none of our dang business because we're a republic and this is New York, and how dare you decide what North Carolina should have. But they've already decided it, because you know why? Because our republic is dead, and UN and Davos, the UN, UNESCO, and Davos, these people are telling the United States how to raise its children, feed its children, grow its food, decide on health policy, etc. Yesterday, Detransition Awareness Day, Lynne. And I didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know until I interviewed a detransitioner that it is the World Health Organization that sets the insurance codes.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many Americans don't know that? I bet most. I bet I didn't. I bet 100, like close to 100% of Americans don't know that an international bureaucracy, unelected people, are setting what a code is going to be for your insurance company right here in this country. And insurance is state regulated.
Well, but guess what, Deb? We have an International Board of Education that is a United Nations entity that is setting education. We have an International Labor Organization that is setting job parameters. Why do you think in 2015, DeVos and Trump, trotted down to Argentina because they met with the other group of 20 to merge education and labor? The only difference was America was the only nation in that meeting who had a president and a secretary of education. Everyone else had a minister of education and a president. I broke that story way before anybody else did, and it was to merge education and labor. And don't think that if Donald Trump gets back into office, we won't see that resurrected, because after all, Joe Biden has done his gut level best to do just that.
Well, not only that, I predict right here and now on this channel that Donald Trump will campaign on universal school choice.
He already has.
No, I know, but he's going to be loud about it. He's going to get up there and he's going to say that any state that doesn't have ESAs and vouchers is going to find themselves not getting federal funding for a whole slew of things, so that they cave, and all of the work done by all of the parents and people like you and people like me who have tried so hard to get people to maintain their state's independence when it comes to education. You're going to have Republicans and Trump voters going, oh, he cares about our freedom. Oh, yes, please give us our school choice. And at that point, Lynn, I don't know. I might just shut down the channel
Well,
and give up.
here's
I think.
the thing. Here's the thing. People don't understand. And Charlotte was working on this, and then I picked it up after she passed.
Charlotte
And
Iserbit.
yeah, and you directly tie your constitutionally protected right to vote to your tax dollar. And
Right.
when you remove that representation, like school choice does, you ruin and take away your right to vote. Now, not just for school board, that's where it starts. You lose the right to vote for school board. Do you think they're going to stop there with universal school choice? Oh, excuse my French, hell no. We're going to go all the way up to your right to vote for anyone. And
right.
Don't think it won't happen. So when you support school choice, you are actually supporting losing your voice when it comes to voting. And if you think that's freedom, go look at all the regimes who have done that and how they have utterly failed.
Well, that's true. And we saw evidence of that in Texas last week. I know we're a little off the topic, but it kind of fits because you're talking about the food and you're talking about how all of this is part and parcel of a disenfranchising program. In rural Texas, the Republicans who support school choice, and by the way, Donald Trump was endorsing some of these candidates, poured money, these special interest groups from far, far away, big corporations, etc., poured money into primarying Republican candidates who were, holding the line. I may not agree with them about everything, but they were holding the line on the school choice matter. And they came in and smeared them and defamed them. I mean, straight up lied about them on certain policies and got them primaried out by pro-school choice Republicans. And all of the money that came into those counties was from outside the state, wasn't even from inside Texas. And there you go. And then they were crowing about it. And the proof that it wasn't some landslide, like Corey DeAngelo said, is that when you looked at the voter turnout and you looked at everything, it was like the lowest ever. And the lowest, the margin also. So it's a landslide. No, you guys poured millions of dollars into these campaigns and you still could only win by this much. But it's outside money going into these states to elect these pro-state candidates who call themselves Republicans, but they're not. They couldn't care less for Republican governance. That's not what they're interested in at all. They're interested in cronyism. They're interested in getting in and getting their piece of the pie, and that's it. That's it. And I'm just kind of sick of it. We didn't show this. I thought you might want to just.
Oh yes, that would be the prosperity zones that I was talking about. If you took that rural urban map that we already went over, Deb,
and superimposed
it, it's eerie. It should be shocking to people just how much those overlay. But this is how our state is being chopped up.
Now, Lynn, this goes back to that exchange between the two lawmakers that I said.
Right.
The fundamental difference in culture that we're seeing right now, like I said, it's not, like these dark, sinister people. I mean, it's self-interested people for sure. They want money, they want power. But it is a fundamental difference of opinion of what you think the purpose of government is. Now, do you genuinely believe that it is the purpose of government to develop a workforce? Do you think it's the purpose of government to decide what a zone for prosperity is, or even to define what prosperity is? Do you think that's their purpose?
Is their purpose to feed you and tell you what your child will eat?
The only legitimate purpose, according to the founders of this nation, the framers of our Constitution, was to protect rights, inalienable rights that are given to you by your creator. That is the purpose of government. You're endowed with them. The government doesn't give them to you. It's not privileges. It's not 3 squares a day and a roof over your head. Those are not rights. And when they put the things together like a workforce development board, they're telling you that they believe that it is the purpose of your government to decide how you should live.
Who should work? Yeah, let's talk about that for just a second. Because it's tied to the workforce development. If you're not credentialed, Deb, through your education for a skill-based job, any kind of skill, intellectual or hands-on skill. If you're not credentialed enough in this government prescribed system, you don't work. If you don't work, You cannot pay your bills because you're not earning a paycheck. You cannot feed your family because you're not earning a paycheck. But who comes in rushing in as your savior? The government. Oh, can't work, can't get a paycheck. That's okay. Here's this program. Here's that program. Here's the other program. Here's what we'll do to take care of you. And you become slowly entrenched in the government nanny state.
Yes.
Which is what I've been warning about for years that is happening. This is why it's so dangerous to attach labor to education.
Correct. Nothing to add to that.
No. If we haven't lit your fire, I hope to goodness when you go back and look at all these things that somehow your fire will be lit. Because as Deb has said, you are the only one who can protect your family. And if you're not sure where to start, I would start with asking those administrators, why the heck did you share my information? Where is it that you have the legal backing to do that? Where's my recourse? My recourse is in the Civil Rights Act of 1981, Section 1983, which gives me the unfettered right to go after every person who's gone after my child. They made it personal. Now I'm going to make it personal. And if you're not sure how that particular section of that Civil Rights Act can help you, ask me. I can tell you.
That's right. That's right. And if you are not following commoncorediva.com, the website, you should be. If you're not following along, watching the Liberty Bells, old episodes and so forth, you should go in and watch those as well. And, or listen, I guess, podcast, right? And follow Lynne on X and Facebook, because there's always new stuff getting put out. We just come together and do these whenever Lynne has a stack of stuff. and like I said, I would in my perfect world, y'all wouldn't need to listen to us anymore at all. You're like, oh, these are long, I don't want to watch them. Like, you know what? Make it so you don't have to listen to us. Just disengage. Then it doesn't matter. You don't need to listen to Deb and Lynne. You can just go on about your way, because that's what we want. That's what we want for you, is to never have to listen to another one of these videos or podcasts again. Just to be like, I'm taking care of business with my family.
There you go. And while I agree with that, I would like to point out, you had one mom.
That's right.
Who was just ticked off enough to say, Deb, what about this?
That's right.
If we don't take the time to speak up and tell each other what we're seeing, they're going to get away with a heck of a lot more than what they've previously gotten away with. So
100%.
we need to have those watchers. We need to have those researchers. We need to have every one of us be a team, whether we're really organized or whether we're loosely organized. We need to be that team to have each other's back. Because if you look at citizen warfare, okay, go back to the Romans. Remember the shell that they would make? They'd have the armor on top.
Yes.
They'd have the armor on each side, in front and back. It would look like a giant turtle, and it would progress towards the battlefield where the enemy was.
Right.
You have to think that mindset when it comes to us working together to get this kind of information out. Would we have known to go look at this one county and this one thing that happened without some sort of clue? No, we wouldn't have. It would have eventually come out, but it would not have been in time to help this mom or the thousands of moms that she may know or have communication with, or the people across wherever who are watching this. Because if you're watching this in the United States, we gave you half the country that is doing this or thinking about it.
That's true.
If you listen outside of the United States, I guarantee you this is in the works, because those sustainable development goals unite us all, whether we like it or whether we don't.
Fact. Absolutely true. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I again, thank you.
You're welcome
for bringing this. I will make sure that mom gets a link to this, as well as the mom in Colorado, because I had one in Colorado and one in Union County get in touch with me about this.
There you go.
So
we've given them tools to use.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Please, again, like, share, and subscribe. You can get all the links for the show down there in the description, and you can peruse them at your leisure. Please share those as well. And I guess we'll probably see you again in not too very long, right, Lynn?
Well, if you'd like to know what I did yesterday,
Oh no.
I spent hours scouring congress.gov, the current 118th session, and the mental health bills, no less than 20. 8 of them are pairs. And while some of them have laid dormant since they were introduced, there are a couple who are very, very draconian. And so I'll probably be talking with you about those in the near future.
Okay. Something to look forward to. Awesome. All right. Thank you again, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.